All right. Um, obviously, I have to share my screen. Share screen. Yeah, good. Yeah. So, design system itself is basically a set of rules, principles, um, UI templates, patterns, components, design tools, and a whole lot of other things that make the design process easier, right? I think the core functionality of the design system is basically to increase efficiency, right? So if you are new to design system, some of my favorite design systems are Carbon, right? Carbon is one of my biggie. Oh, I have to close it. I'll put it inside. Okay, so Carbon is one of my biggie. Material, right? I like material documentation, right? And documentation is very in depth. And so this is probably my favorite, probably, right? I particularly like their case studies. If I'm to create my portfolio for the design system I've created, I'll probably come here and Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and just change. It's difficult to hear me. Ah, oh, okay. I'm coming. Let's, let me know if it's different now. Is it better? Ah, my chest. Coming. See. Okay, this is going on. Yeah, can you guys hear me now? Please, okay, I'm coming. Let me switch this up. Okay. Probably have to raise my voice a little. Yeah, can you guys hear me now? So let me know if it's better. I never chopped this morning, so I can't be very loud. Hello. Okay, I don't think I can even hear myself. I'm coming. Let's see. Switch mic. Hello. 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 Yeah, I think. Can you guys hear me? Is it better? All right, that's good. Yeah, better. All right, so I was trying to show you guys some of my favorite design systems. Right, so we have Carbon here. Right, so if I was to do a case study for my design system, probably when I decide to do a portfolio, I'll probably just come here, Control C everything here, and just start editing. Edit, edit, edit. Right, I like that structure. Right, so you can also do a case study for a design system. It's not every time UI. We like UI too much, right? So yeah, we can do that. Then I like the way the structure. I've been seeing people. I like the way they structure their design system, right? I like the structure. But in terms of in-depth documentation, material went overboard, right? Even for how to create onboarding for their application, they have detailed articles, right? Material went in depth when it comes to documentation, right? So yeah, there are a lot of other ones. There's Lightning by Salesforce. There's Lightning Salesforce. Does Salesforce have Lightning? Who has Polaris? Yeah, okay, Polaris is Shopify. Yeah, there's Lightning by Salesforce. There's Polaris by Shopify. There's Rainbow by Consensus, I think. That's a blockchain design system. So Rainbow is a blockchain design system. You see, I'm usually here, Rainbow, right? Then which other one is there? I think Uber have their own design system, right? ExxonMobil have the Unity design system they use for building their products. I am pretty sure Chevron has a design system, right? So when you're trying to achieve consistency and achieve what's the other word? Ah, my brain is shutting down. There's another thing you achieve with design system, right? When you're trying to achieve consistency across probably 100 products, 50 products, you will need to have a design system. All right. Okay, so let's get started. Then, how do I organize my design system, how do I automate workflows? How do I know what workflow to use um, for designing a component, right? Say um, I'm dropped in Sherman right now and I have to design a component. How do I go about it, right? Ideally, most teams use Trello, Jira, Asana, right? They have a lot of products they use for managing workflows or assigning tasks, right? But my favorite when I'm trying to create a design system is Jira, right? So I just go to jira.com, then I'm already logged in, right? Ideally, you want to log in. Then I click on this Jira software. Okay, so I already have two workspaces here. This is for my personal work, right? Um, have a lot I'm doing at times, so I just organize my work in here, right? This is for design system we're building. I've not had time to conduct sprints, right? So, but let's create a project from scratch. So let's create a project, and you can decide to use Classic, right? Classic has some interesting features. Next gen, not so much, right? But for some reason, I'm always coming back to next gen, right? So I would want to use next gen. You can decide to use whichever works for you. I want to use next gen, right? Naming my design system. If I'm creating a design system for give me a company at the top of your head. Anybody should give me a company. Uh, 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 uh. Oh. So let's say I'm creating a design system for the Estonian government. There's feedback. I'm actually using. Is that is everybody hearing feedback? Oh, there's still feedback coming. I don't know what mic I am using. Let me see if I can switch off my mic. All right, what mic am I using? Okay, give me a minute to see if I can work on the audio. Let me just switch mic and see. Let's see. Uh, mm, which do I tell? Which? Yeah, I'm not so clear on how to turn off one mic. Do I have two of myself? Yeah, I think one is muted. Presentation is muted. I'm talking right now. Okay, thank God. All right, so where did I stop? Yeah, so to create a design system, right? I usually pay attention to keys here, right? So if I'm creating for the Estonian government, I'll probably say Estonia design system should be the name, right? Then my key will be EDS, Estonian design system, or I can decide to use just DS design system, right? But right now, the other design system workspace is already using this key. Let's say use EDS, right? So you can decide to use between Scrum and the Kanban templates, right? You can decide to choose one, so I'm going with Scrum and create, right? Just do that in here, and voila, you are launched into your design system workspace. Okay, so let me walk you guys through it. On the right, you have your roadmap, right? So when you've created stories, when you've created tasks, and you've assigned dates and you've organized your workspace, the task will start appearing here, right? You see, this is organized by months, right? So when you assign dates and you've created your task, this is where they start showing up, right? Then we have backlog. Okay, we have our backlog, right? This is your create our task. So say I need to create a color for my design system. The basic of the design to create a color. So I'll come here and say color, right? If I need to create typography, I'll come here and say typography, right? So this is telling whoever is in this workspace that we have color and typography to create, right? If I'm to create a spacing system, I can say spacing, right? If I'm to create a layout grid by applying spacing to it, this will probably be a component, right? Layouts and they are usually components, right? Spacing is part of the visual foundation. Layout is a component that is applying spacing, right? So if I'm to create any issue, right, I'll come here. Issues are basically tasks you need to get done, right? Then this is your board, right, where your issues will show. Right now, none of my issues is showing because I have not assigned status to them, right? So until I come here and say this layout, right, I can click on it to expand it, right? I can come here and change the status from right now it's on to do, right? To do not show on your board, right? If all your to do's were shown on your board will become what's the word for it? To become congested, right? So let me come here, right, and change the status from to do to in progress, right? All I have to do is just click that. When I come to my board, I will see that that should be shown under in progress. Ah, sorry, I've forgotten how next gen work. Come in. Let me drink Chivita. Probably I need juice so my brain to be working well. Okay, I think I'm good to go. Right, yeah, next gen and classic. So the way next gen work, right? Only sprints show on your board, right? So if you are not starting any sprint, nothing is going to show yet. So those also show, right? So say I want to have a design sprint to get this color done in 2 weeks, right? All I have to do is just come here and say create sprint, okay? Then if it's color I want to work on, all I have to do now is just drag this color into here, right? So I can also come here and edit my sprint. Ideally, I name my sprint using great artists, right? So if I'm working on color, I'll call this EDS sprint Picasso, right? Then sprint goal would be to publish color to the Figma library, to the, publish color styles, right? Color styles to the Figma library, and create design tokens, and create design tokens, right? For example, right? Then I'll update this, right? So now if I come to my board, since that color is still, what the hell? Should go to part. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Copy. Edit. This is update. Start sprint. Yeah, 2 weeks duration. It starts from today's what? SN19. Started yesterday. Yeah, so I have to start my sprint. So I have to start my sprint. So now it's showing on my board, right? So until I finish the Picasso sprint, right, no other sprint will show here, right? So me being the person that I am, I can probably just go ahead and start creating another sprint, right? So my next sprint will probably be called Shakespeare because I'll be working on typography. I will edit this and change this to. Hope I still know how to spell Shakespeare. Yeah, I think that's it, right? So until I finish the Picasso sprint, right, Shakespeare will not start, right? Okay. So you create task here, okay, and you assign them to sprints, right? So I'll just collapse these guys, okay. This is just a quick run through. We've not gotten to the sweet part yet, okay. So next we have code, right? Since this is particularly for a design system, I can connect this to my Bitbucket, to my GitHub, or whatever code repository I'm using, right? Then we have project pages, right? Probably on the create documentation for your design system, probably on how your design system govern and so on, right? If anything I'm saying sounds confusing, it's probably because we have prior videos on the design system. I can also send you the links, right? So you can go through them and get up to speed, right? So there are things called, you can probably create documentation of how the main components in Figma, how governance work in your design system, right? So you can come here and create those documentation, right? So then you have project settings as usual. You can come to set a project. All right, that's a quick run through. Right, so let's go to the exciting part. So for us to do that, I have to switch projects to DS. Okay. So to create a feature for your design system, right? To create a feature for your design system, we ideally go through 5 steps, right? We ideally go through 5 steps. To say I want to add a search bar as a component to my design system, right? The first step I would take would be to propose the search bar, right? So after proposing, I propose, I present to the team the review, right? If after review is being approved, then the next step would be for me to design my search bar. Yeah, so if after designing, right, I'm done designing, the next step after designing will be for the developer to start building other components. So when they are done building, they will start documenting the do's and don'ts, all the guidelines for using that component. Then finally, we publish that to our library, right? That's like the first step you take to add a component to your design system, right? We usually take this step because we're trying to make sure anything that's added to the design system is high quality, right? So if probably as a contributor, I want to contribute to the carbon design system, right? I can come here and say, I want to contribute to, there is it. I want to contribute to the carbon design system, right? I want to contribute to it, right? I want to request a feature, right? So the first thing I would ideally do, right, is go through all products that IBM have, right? This carbon is by IBM. Go through all products they have. I have to check if that feature is usable across all the products, right? If the feature is not usable, there is no need adding to your design system, right? You just add that to your product backlog and review it out, right? So that's the whole point of us going through process 1, process 2, process 3, process 4, process 5, right? So after creating my propose, my design, my code, my doc, my publish, right? So let's say I want to add something like that. Now say I want to create a search bar. I'll say search bar as a component. Okay. First step I'll do obviously will be to propose it. Okay. Next step after that would be to design it. Next step after that would be to code it, right? You're not the one doing this, right? This is obviously the dev. Okay. Next step after that, you see, these are repetitive tasks that we have to automate. I cannot be typing like this all the time, right? Next step after that would be to document, and the step after that would be to publish, right? So you do these 5 steps for any component to add into your design system. Me being a very lazy person that I am, I can't start typing. What if I want to do now for probably breadcrumbs, right? Probably this is a website. I want to do for breadcrumbs, and I start saying breadcrumbs, propose, right? Breadcrumbs. Ah, me, I shall know my mom did not give birth to a corpse that didn't know this kind of thing repeated. Right. So what I can just do, what I usually do, I'll do Control C, right? I'll press enter on my keyboard. If you don't press enter, it doesn't create the story or the task. Right. Next one I'll say code. Right. Next one I'll say doc. Next one I'll say publish. Oh, this is hard work. This is hard work, right? So a designer may ask, right? Now that I want to propose the search bar, what steps do I take to propose the search bar? What steps do I take to propose the breadcrumb, right? So across most of these components, the steps are pretty similar, right? So if they are similar, it only makes sense that uh, we have a template for each, right? So I'm going to come to add-ons, right? I'll show you guys how I do this. I'm going to come to add-ons, click on STM templates, right? So now, if you want to propose a component, might ask, what steps do I need to take? So we said you don't have to think much about that, right? These are the steps you need to take. First, you have to review similar apps to identify shared reviews, review existing systems to identify overlap, right? And after reviewing our product, you see that there's a shared reviews for this your component you're proposing. Then you have to review the design system to identify if there's something similar, right? Then you start scoping out the features, submit proposal, right? So these are all the steps you take to propose a component, right? You do this repeatedly for all components you are proposing, right? If you want to design a component, you come to the design. These are the steps you would need to design a component. But I start thinking, I start thinking, right? So I start thinking I can't be doing this every time for each of my components, right? So say I want to propose a breadcrumb, for example. All I have to do is come here, right? As a designer working on this, click on this and create box of task, right? So subtask is everything we have here. So we came here, we created a template with all the subtasks you need to achieve a particular task, right? So to propose or to publish a breadcrumb, which is the task itself, there are subtasks you must check out, right? So you can come here and you see all the subtasks you need to publish that, right? So we say you don't have to think too much about it. You don't have to memorize this subtask. You can just come here, right, to whatever component you are working on and say, since I want to publish, all I have to do is just come here and say, create box subtask, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to take that template you created, use those subtasks to populate your story, right, or your task. So if I click on this and I click publish, right, okay, then I'll create box subtask. Okay, give it, it's not usually this slow, right? Now you see it has created the subtask story. Right? So if I want to start this, then I'll switch this from to do to in progress, right? I can probably just click on this to check what's up. So I have to set up doc site branch or instance, right? Yeah, so I have to check out this subtask before I can successfully publish this. But I'm having a problem right now, which means if I'm to do for doc now, I have to click on doc. I have to come here and I have to create box subtask for doc. Right, so I have to use my template, the doc template, and create. Okay. Now this is looking like hard work already, right? Maybe just a couple of clicks, but I don't want to have to do this every time I'm creating a component, right? I don't want to have to create stories and start saying footer propose, footer design, footer build, footer doc, footer publish, right? It seems like a lot of repetitive work that we cannot automate, right? So ideally, what I'll do is each of them, see, there are a lot of, most times it gets around 400. I'm already at 623. Right? So what I do is, when I started out, before I started automating, I'll come here, I'll click, and create box of tasks. But I thought to myself, there has to be a way for us to automate this. Automation in the sense that we are cutting across all these repetitive processes I just showed you. You won't have to do one single one, right? So what is going to help us is going to make sure that designers can quickly get started working on the design. Developers can quickly build out components, right? And anyone can create a story, right? So what I did was, okay, I came here, right? So to create these templates, right? To create this template is pretty easy. If I want to create a new template for probably turning over our sprint, I'll just click on this plus, right? To create a new template, I'll click on that plus. What should be the sprint name? Probably sprint turnover, right? So I can now add all the issues I wanted to have, right? So I want to add this issue. Um, let's say the issue is da, 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 da. I'll just do that, right? Sorry. Okay, I don't need to see this. I don't need to add description. I don't need to add reporter. Except you want to add description. I don't think I need to add description. I don't want to add reporter. I don't want to add an assignee. Right? I don't want to add due date. I don't need these other fields. Right? So what I can do is you switch from light feature level to probably advanced. Right? So now I see I have this checkbox. I can to turn off these things. They are necessary for me. So I'll turn it off, 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 and turn it off. Right? So, like I mentioned, this is a subtask, right? So I have to switch the issue type from um, blank or none to subtask, right? So probably this is the first step user would take. I'll add another one and say, buy me pounded yam. Okay, buy me pounded yam. Then I'll switch this to subtask. Right? Then I would save. And that's all. That's how you create templates in Jira. Right? So now if I come here, right, I can start to say, since sprint turnover is a repetitive event, then I can probably just create a story that says castle. If I can say castle. Okay, sprint turnover. Now click enter, and I have that. Right. So now to populate this with subtask. Questions. Oh yes, you can get it into it. All right. So to populate this with that subtask, I'll just come here, quick create box subtask, and select the sprint turnover template I just created and create subtask. Right. So now I know that to create this, you need to buy me pound a yam. You need to buy me pound a yam, right? So that's how you create templates, right? So by default, you're not going to see any of this, right? So you have to install the STM subtask management, subtask manager rather, right? So you just come into apps, find new apps, right? Who's that? I mean, okay. So you find new apps and allow it load. Okay, then you just search for STM and come and you install the first one you see. Okay, and install the first one you see, right? And when you install that, you're going to have this bad boy here. Um, yeah, you're going to have this bad boy here. Here are you. Here, you're going to have these two people here, right? So after creating templates, right, I thought to myself, right, there is, oh, I can't sketch here. Let me see if I can jump into Figma. F11, Unity. Okay. Yeah, so let me do pencil. Yeah, so I thought to myself, right? So since I don't want to, let me switch this to thicker pen, thicker stroke. Okay, better. Right. So I thought to myself, since I don't want, I don't want to have to. Well, I think I will put that just now. Select thicker stroke. Okay. Yeah, since I don't want to have to propose, okay, I don't want to have to create this design story. I don't want to have to create the code, the doc, and the publish story every time. Right? How do I automate that in such a way that when I create a story, right, it automatically creates propose for me, it creates design for me, it creates code story for me, it creates doc story, it creates publish story, right? And not just that, it goes a step further and says for the publish story, it populates it with all the subtasks I may need, right? It populates it with all the subtasks. For the design, same thing, it populates it with all the subtasks, right? We're trying to do this so anybody at all can create a story and populate these things with subtasks without them having in-depth knowledge on how to use Jira, right? And that will also save us time as Jira admins, so we don't get to have to be creating these things from scratch every time, right? So how do I do that? So the first thing I thought was first, right? We need a template that will automatically create stories for us, right? Come, let me admit you, right? Okay. Yeah. So first thing I thought we need a template that automatically creates stories for us, right? I thought that I said, oh, that's the first thing we need, right? Because first we need to create these stories before we even create some task, right? So first I came here, I created a template, right? Proposal, design, code, doc, publish, right? Very easy. All I did was come here, right? And I said, um, for components, okay, for components, name that component, switch to advanced, you have more options. I don't need this, 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 right? So if I have to, there are 5 steps, right? So I'll just add multiple issues at a time. So I'll just click on 5 and create all the issues. Right. So the first step is what? First step is propose, right? The summary, right? Remember I was typing search bar into story. That is the summary. You see it in brackets here, right? So this is basically saying search bar propose. Next step should be search bar design, right? Search bar code, okay? Then search bar, I don't have to do everything. Search bar doc, right? Okay. Then remember, what we are creating are stories, not subtasks. So we have to make sure we switch these issues stories. It's very important to do this. Okay, miss that, and miss that. Okay, next one is publish, publish, uh, publish. Okay, publish. Okay, come on. Yeah. So I'll give this a story. Okay, and I'm going to say, okay. So now, what I want to do is I'm going to come to the XTM executor, which is basically going to auto run these templates for me, right? So what I did with the executor was, first, let me run you guys through what I did. So first, I created an executor for all the issue, all the processes, all the steps to build a feature, right, or deploy a feature in the design system. So first step we have is publish, propose. It doesn't matter what order I create them, right? You run it that way. So we have propose, we have doc, we have design, we have code, we have publish, right? So what this is basically saying is, if I click on this, let's edit. If I click, what it's basically saying is, on issue creation, right? When an issue is created, and the label is a design label, right? Run the subtask template for design. When an issue is created and the label is a design label, right? Endeavor to run this design step subtask template, right? Pretty easy. So I did that to all of them, and what I'm basically saying, if it's a code label, if the label is a code, right, run a code subtask template for me. If it's a doc label, um, a run a doc subtask template for me, right? And how do I do that? Then we have the primary executor, right, which is the process. What this process basically does is, if my story type is a component, which means if what I'm trying to do is create is a component in my design system, right? And it takes a component, it should run that template that will create all um all the story type for us to create the propose, the doc, the design, the build, sorry, the doc, the publish, and the propose. Right? Create all those templates for me, right? So what it's saying is, when an issue is created, and if it's a story type, right, run the system process for component templates, right? This will all sound like jargon, right? So let's see it in action. I'm going to come here to issues, right? So what I'm going to do is, let's create a new one, right? Post entry. All right. So let's create a new issue, a new story rather. So what should we call this as story? What design component is there? Let's create a gas. Let me just use some like a gas management. No, that would not work. Let's say input field. Let's just say, I think I have input field already. What component should be at the top of my head now? I have button, I have input field, I have breadcrumbs. There are breadcrumbs in there. Okay, um, let's say about us template, right? So let me come to the summary and say about us, right? So what this is going to do, so I have to check some things. In my executor, right, I say unless the story type is component, that is when it should run. So if the story type is not component, it's not going to run at all, right? So you get to determine what story types you want to use here. So if I click on create, what is going to happen is, first, the process executor is going to run, right? And when it's running, it's going to deploy our process templates, right? It creates all the processes for us, all the stories for us, right? Create the propose, create the design, create the doc, publish, right? It creates those templates for us. And when these templates are being created, each of them have their own label. For the proposed, it has a label proposed. So once the other executor sees that, oh, this story has the label proposed, it starts running and starts creating subtasks. Still looks like English, but let's press create. So once I click on create, right, just give that a minute. Okay, once I click on create, okay, it has created, right, but most times Here no date, so I have to refresh. Yeah, so once I click on create, you see what it has done for me now, right? So I don't have to start creating about us proposal, about us design, about us code, about us doc, about us publish. I don't have to create those stories from scratch. First, now if I click on each of these stories, right, you're going to see each of them have subtask populated already automatically. I don't have to start coming here and clicking create box subtask. Right, so each of them, if I go back, each of them have their subtask populated already. Right, so right now, anyone in this Jira workspace can create an issue. Right, when you create the issue, everything gets populated. Right, so now automated story creation, automated subtask. Right, so let me slow down a little bit. Questions for me? Anything I need to go back to? Ah, there are no questions. When I don't hear questions, I assume everybody understood everything. Your brain book. Okay, so no question. That's not possible. This thing confused me. I used almost 2 weeks to crack this. There has to be question. There must be question. Oh. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Adekola, are you there? Yeah, we are, from which part? From which part should I go right again? Is it from the executor or from the template? From the executor or template? Ah, which part of the beginning? The beginning of Jira, the template. Okay, okay. All right. All right. Okay, so now that you guys have seen it in action, let me go over it again. Right. So let's go to our backlog. I'll be doing this again, so I want to delete it. Yeah, delete. Okay. Okay, let me just delete them. I'll be doing the same about us again. So it was pretty confusing for me at first, right? I think I cracked this when I was in a meeting with Shy One. Okay, so delete. All right. Okay, yeah. So when you come to add-ons, right? So templates are basically all the repetitive processes or steps you want to automate, right? So for the design, okay, let's use for the design. For the design step, all the steps you need to design a feature is here. So first, you set up your design file and artboard in Figma. You integrate design from other sources. Probably you have other design systems you want to build on. You design features, you annotate tokens, you test contrast, you do A/B testing, you prototype. So you have all these steps, right? You have all these 20 steps, right? So I've created each of them for each of the story processes, right? So for the story that says about us, propose, I already have all the sub tasks you need to carry out for you to propose a component. For design, I have all the sub tasks you need to design a component. For you to publish a component, I have all the sub tasks you need to do that, right? So what we are basically trying to do now, remember when we're creating stories, we came here, right? So the design process for a company may be different, right? For a company, may not have to propose, right? You just have to design if you're the sole designer. So you can just do design, code, doc, publish, right? So if for your company you have just 4 steps, right? And when you're creating an issue, what you basically create is about us, bracket, design, press enter, so that shows about us, what's the next code, right? About us, doc, right? About us, publish, right? This will probably be your workflow, your 4 step workflow, right? But you know that you don't want to have to be creating this about us, about us, about us, about us manually, right? You want Jira to automatically create these 4 steps for you in brackets, right? So all you need to do is basically just come here and create that template for yourself, right? So what your template contains is, come, let me get somebody. Right, so what's your template? Let me see. Questions on me? Oh, okay. I'll do that. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I'm too fast. Okay, so now that we have these are four processes for your own design system, right? If you're a solo designer, you probably don't need to propose to anybody, right? And you just design, code, doc, publish, right? These are your four steps, right? But you don't want to have to be creating this by yourself every time you want to design a component, right? So you see it a lot, right? You don't have to be doing this manually yourself. If you are doing manually yourself, if you are designing 20 components, it translates like you have to create 80 stories by yourself or 80 issues by yourself, right? We don't want to have to do that. We are not artists, right? So what we basically do is we're going to come to our add-ons, the STM we installed, right? We'll click on it, right? This STM is going to allow you automatically create those things by creating them in templates. Now, for my current process, okay, let's do for your process. Now, for your process, right, I can rename this first step, four-step design process. Okay, it's not just design, right? Let's say design or system process. First step system process. Okay. So what's the first step you need to take? Right. The first step you need to take is design. Right. So you add that issue that says design. Right. So I'm going to put this in brackets, design. Because remember when I was creating the about us, this is how I was writing it. I was saying about us bracket design. Right? So that translates that when I come here, I just put in bracket design, right? The about us is the summary itself, right? The about us is that summary. So if I come here, I want to create an issue, you are going to see here you type is the summary itself, this is the summary field, right? Whatever you're typing in is the summary field. So that is what is showing as this here. Sorry. Right, that's what's showing as this here. Let's go back there. Okay, so I will name this again. I'm sorry. Okay, first step. First step system process. Thank you. Okay, so now I have to create the first issue or the first process rather, right? And that first process is the design process. Okay, I do not need to add description for this. I do not need to add reporter. I do not need to add assignment. Right. So what I'm going to do is switch to advanced so I can turn off these fields. Right. I do not need them. Okay. Right? So remember, when we are creating this, we are creating it as a story. When we're creating just then a backlog. So we're going to come here and say the issue type is story when it's created. Are you guys still with me? Okay. I'll assume you guys are. Okay, so the first step is the design step, right, for you. So the next step after design is what? To be code for you. Right? So I'm going to make this story. Right. Next step after code is doc for you. Right, so this is a story, so make sure you turn it on and it's a story. After doc, it's publish. So it's a story, and I'll make it a story. But there's an issue here, right? If you try to run this in an executor, it's not going to create this subtask for us. It's going to create these issues definitely, right? So let's say this. Let's see this as our first step system process and say, okay, now we have this. I'm going to come back. I have to go back to the editor. Now these are our templates for creating stories, right? These are templates for creating this sort of story in our backlog. This story, that's our template now, but it starts from design because we are solo designers, right? So if I come here and I go to executor, I would say executor is pretty easy. You click plus to add a new executor. Let's do this executor. First step, first step, right? So next, right? When does this executor run? It should run when you are creating issue. There are two here. When you are creating issue, or when you are transitioning from to do to in progress or to done, right? We don't want to do for status transition. We want to do this from when we are creating an issue. We want this to run when we are creating an issue. When you say run or creation of issue, on what condition should it run, right? The condition it should run should be that the click on condition when what field right? So what field is going to trigger this issue? What is going to make this issue run, right? So we're going to say, let's see, when labels, right? When labels, no, we don't want to use label, right? We can equally say when label is, we don't have a value for label. Let's say process, for example. When label is process, right? This issue should run, right? This issue should run. So when my label is a process, this issue should run. So I'll click next, right? So what action should it take? What should happen after it detected that this is a process, right? So when it detects, oh, this is a process, what should it do? I'm going to click on the action. I want to say it should create linked issues, right? Linked issues are basically stories, right? Or you should have no linked issues, right? You can create epic or extend epic later. You can create subtasks from our subtask template, but we don't want that. We want linked issues, right? Okay, to create linked issues, okay, template to use, we want you to run this our 4-step process template, right? Which is going to run those 4 steps for us: design, code, doc, and publish, right? To run that template for us, the default issue type is a story, right? I usually just choose for this. I usually just choose relate to, right? And I save. Now, if I come back here to my issue creation and I say I want to create a new issue, right? Probably let me call this monthly. Okay, so see right now I'm not doing propose. I'm not doing design because this is going to automatically run for me. Right, so I'm going to add the summary that says monthly, right? So what does my executor need to detect for it to start running? For it to start running, my executor need to detect process, right? So I don't have the process label. I need to detect process, right? So if this label is not the process, it's not going to run, right? So if I click create now, right, it should create that issue for me. All right, so as usual, let me refresh. Hmm. Let's see, it's not running. Why? Why? What's happening? Why is it not running? Why is it not running? Right, okay, so let's come back to our add-on. Let's come back to our add-on. Right. So the first problem, right? We don't have a process label, right? We don't have a process label. So if I check my label, if I come here and I check my list of label, there's no process label. So I'll come here and create process. Okay, so when you do that, it's created, right? This is created right now. So check your executor just to confirm what it needs to detect. So I'll come back here, first step, I'll click on it, I'll check, it needs to detect process, right? I think this is case sensitive, this is capital data. So let's see if it's going to run now. So let's come back to our issues, right? Let's create an issue that says run. Okay, so I'm click. Remember, this has to be process, so it's not going to run. So just solution process. Oh, I created it already now. Let's see. Yeah, so it worked. I think that was the first one was case sensitive, right? We used a small letter P. So now I see what it did was when it detected that this run, right? Run has a label called process. So what it did was take our template and it ran this template for us. Therefore, creating run design, run code, run doc, run publish. Ah, ah, I'm still too fast. Hey, how do I tune this down? Um, okay, well, where do I go back to again? Are you just joining? Yeah. Any other thoughts? Audio is still a struggle. Okay. But yeah, but if I'm running the full Jira tutorial, I will not be teaching how to automate this, right? Because when you're using Jira, ideally, you're using for design system, you don't have process you're automating. You don't need to know all these things. If you want to just teach Jira, oh well, I can teach just Jira. Well, I don't see how that benefits if you plan on setting up a design system in Jira. Okay, so I think I've explained how to run templates several times. All right, so I don't know where to go back to. I don't know where you guys are stuck. And I have a couple of minutes before I have to enter another meeting. All right, so I don't know where you guys are stuck. Ah, testing mic, testing mic. Okay, so ah, okay. So executor, so our template, right? Who's joining by this time? Oh, okay. Yeah, so our template is basically our executor is basically taking this template, right? Looking for a condition that is true and running it. Right. Ideally, you don't need to know these plenty things I just said. Right. I know I said the top things, but you don't need to know them. Right. You don't need to know them. All these things I said, you don't need to know them. Right. You don't need to know them. So I'm saying you don't need to know them because I can easily just give this template and you can just import your Jira file. But the problem is you need to know how it's being created, how to edit it, and what to add and what not to remove. Okay, so that's what template, right? So if I'm giving this to you, right, I will have to delete this guy. It's not important. Right, it's messing up my work. I have to delete them. I have to delete this guy. Someone asked me a question. Yeah, to get it pretty easy, just go to your make sure you have STM installed. Right. So when you have STM installed, you see this subtask manager configuration on the left. So you can import slash export. So if I exported this already as a JSON file, so you just choose file and you look for it and import, and you're good to go. So when you import that, it's going to import template and executors I've created already. Yeah, so you don't have to do that from scratch. Yeah, but let me go back to Jira. I'm not done with Jira. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, so back to project. Okay, yeah, so let's go back to the backlog. Okay, yeah, so there are ways we organize our files in Jira, right? So we use things called Epic, right? I like the Epic. I like the Epic. So we use things called Epic to organize our file in Jira. Right. So what Epic does is it basically think of it like a filter, right? Think of them as filters, right? So when you're creating a design system, the first thing you usually start with is the visual language, or as I like to call it, the design foundation. Right. So the visual language is basically things that contains color, typography, iconography, spacing. Right. That's like the big four. That's what the first four things you create before you start the design system. Right. So if I'm going to be working on spacing on color, I want to be able to categorize where color belongs to, right? This is just help me categorize what I'm doing, right? So I can just come here and say, oh, typography is part of design foundation, it's part of the visual language, right? I can just click here, add epic, and categorize it as a design foundation, and I'm good. So now you see we have design foundation. So if I want to see all the work I need to get done on my design foundation, right? All I have to do is just come here and click this. So now it's showing all the jobs I need to do on that design foundation. Right. Same thing for documentation, right? I've assigned the documentation issue type epics. Right, so I've assigned the documentation epic to some of my files there. So probably I need to document my writing guidelines. I'll click on this and say this is documentation. So it's obvious it's under the documentation epic. Right. So now if I need to see all the work I have to do under documentation, I'll just click this and just my documentation stories to really show. Right. That's basically how epic works. Right. I can try to check issues that epic issues I'm going to assign epic to and just turn off the other epics, right, and start assigning epics to this. Right. Some epics are reoccurring throughout your design system, right? Things like design foundation, UI component, design token, um, what else again? Operations that are reoccurring, right? So when you're starting out, strategy, adopters, and documentation are important. Strategy are basically creating a pitch deck to pitch to stakeholder, right? Get more staffs. What is another strategy, right? Just basically things you need to do to get your design system started. Adopters are the early contributors that will be contributing to this your design system, right? What do they need to get started under adopters, right? Documentation is basically setting up your website to publish and document your design system, right? So everything on documentation will be there. Right. I think this guy should be under this this guy should be under sorry. Let's click on the wrong thing. Click on it. It's epic. Right. This guy should be under UI component. Layouts are UI component. Right. They're just spacing their component applying space like I mentioned earlier. So right. So that's epic. Then we have versioning. Right. We use versioning in our design system. Right. So the create versioning, when you just install Jira and you put it in a new project, you're not going to have releases, you're not going to have issues here. These two guys are not here. So you need to turn them on. I'm going to go to project settings. Right. I'm going to come to features. Okay. Then I can turn them on and off. Okay. Then you can see your issue types. Right. You can edit your issue types. Right. For example, by default, stories do not have story type. Right. All I did was add story type myself by just clicking on something I want here. Probably I need this. I'll just drag and say I need to add this, and I'll say this is submission date. Okay. Then that will be added to my story issue. So anytime I need to create a story issue, I will not have submission date as part of the field. Right. But you don't need that, so I describe it. As you can edit for all your issues. Right. Then you have your if you have project settings, you can obviously edit. You have your board, right? You can edit your boards. I don't think I've ever been here. Okay, then yeah, so you can edit whatever. You can even edit who has access to your file. Okay, you can add more applications too. Yeah. So next we have releases, right? Releases are how we release files in Figma. Sorry, not Figma. Our release design system, right? So our first design system when we are trying to validate design and code architecture, right, is usually called Alpha 0.01. 0.001, right? So after Alpha, we have beta, right? When we're trying to steadily deliver UI components, right? Design and code that documentation to early adopters. So stage when you're done with alpha beta, the next stage is the launch stage, right? So you have your first complete library and it's ready for release. Right? Then we have ongoing, we have next major release, we have all the description here, right? So let's say color typography are under alpha, right? And I'm trying to run a design sprint to know what needs to get shipped out first, right? Obviously, whatever is getting shipped out has to be under alpha since we're just starting the design system. So I'm going to come here and say typography. Oh, typography is under alpha and say and add version to it and say fixed version should be alpha, right? So this is going to help me organize how I deliver things. The next I probably have this should be also under the alpha. It should be alpha. Okay. So now I can come here and say I want to see the design tokens I need to work on early, right? That are under under Alpha, right? So I can just click on that, and it shows me all the design tokens that are under Alpha, right? So you see, this guy got ton of typography, right? I think this guy is under probably beta or something, right? So if I decide the design foundation, right, which trying to push out now, right? Which trying to push out to our Alpha design system, I can just come here and click on Alpha, and it says, oh, you have to push out color, ASAP, and typography too, right? Yeah, so that's it on versions and epics. Questions? I'm assuming there are questions. Oh shit, it took up already. Question. Okay. So generally, right, for this to make sense to you, all the entities I've said, for it to make sense to you, you have to read up on design system, right? I had no plans, or I have no plan of going through design system from scratch again, right? The reason I'm actually teaching this much is because right now I'm trying to carve a niche for myself in the design system space. There's money in it, right? There's plenty money in it. And I just figured some other designers may also want to know how to automate their workflow. They don't have to start creating stories from scratch, creating Subtask from scratch, right? So let's just automate that, and that was reason for this meeting. Yeah, but if there are no questions, I think I may have to end the meeting in about 6 minutes and get ready for my 8:30 meeting. So questions? I think Austin is trying to talk. Thank you, DG. Okay. Question. The design system I built. Are you talking about the Jira? Oh, there are videos on that already. Oh. Right. I think we have 2 YouTube videos on that. I can forward that to you. Oh, wait. I might forget. Let me send that to you now. YouTube. I'll give it to library. Library. Uh, I like it. Library. My videos. Yeah. So we talk about design system. Yes, I think this is it. Get shareable copy. Okay, I think this is it. Hey, AJ, I don't go meet you by mistake. Oh. I better meet yourself. Okay, welcome back. Nobody's again. All right, so if you're interested in the JSON file for the automation template and executor, I would also send that when I'm sending out this recording. So whoever is interested, but like I said, if you don't know about design system or how they work, it will be difficult for you to grasp everything I've said. But if you know how design system work, right, and you're here, this should be very easy for you. Yeah, I think Tony knows much about design system. We even cracked how to export that JSON file together, right? So this will be more beneficial to him than somebody that has no idea about design system. All right. In the absence of any question, let me go and play secure and drown my or have more soup. I want to sit down my story, but I know secure is hard. So peace out. See you guys when next I start to do a meeting. Bye bye.